I suck at fighting games. But I love them.
No shame.
And I definitely know like a paragraph's worth about most fighting game franchises. And what I always fondly remember from playing a bunch of Street, because I love my Super Nintendo, and I had Street Fighter 2. I went out and purchased it as a game I wanted to play. Never got good at it, despite how much I played it. Guile's my favorite. But it just feels good. Like, is that Street Fighter? Like, is that a good way to describe it? That like, you know, like there are other franchises that have fun systems and do things differently, but like Street Fighter is just the tightest, you know, control scheme, you know, and it's just there's no question, you know, like what you need to do to get better. I've just never been able to do it. So.
I think this is the perfect way to start off this Just Play, Brandon, because it's a really good question. I am not a master of any game. I'm not. There are games that I'm good at, and there are games that I'm bad at, but I really like competitive games. And the reason Street Fighter has captivated my heart, and I'm not a lifelong Street Fighter player. I've always dabbled with the series, but I really got into it in Street Fighter 4 because I had a friend that kind of showed me the ropes and actually taught me how to play fighting games beyond just mashing buttons. You know, and I play a lot of MOBAs, right? When I'm playing League of Legends, when I'm playing Heroes of the Storm, even when I'm playing Hearthstone, I sort of reach this point. It's not that I don't have to think. It's not that I don't have to make interesting decisions. But I kind of reach this point where I go through the motions, right? I play Leopard Gnome on turn 1 in Hearthstone, right? I have my loadout for Jinx in League of Legends. I just kind of do it, and it feels comfortable and it feels right. I'm not kidding. Almost every match that I play of Street Fighter, if I'm playing someone of an equal skill, my heart is racing. And I feel like I'm in the moment with that game in a way that I'm not in a lot of other competitive games, because everybody plays differently and the game is so complex. And not only do you have to make difficult decisions, you have to make them in a split second. It is like heart pounding and intense in a way that just makes me so happy.
Another thing I would describe about Street Fighter is that it's a franchise that is always aiming to refine itself.
Yes.
And it can be tempting for some, like a lot of, I'm getting it right. I'm terrible at fighting games. I'm really proud of myself right now. But you know, you have a lot of fighting game franchises that'll like branch off and make. I know there's been weird Street Fighter games, but like, it seems like they really don't want to rock the boat. You know, like if there's something new, if there's like, you know, the R&D department at Capcom and like on the cutting room floor of all of the gameplay modes they wanted to add, you know, all the ones that are, you know, didn't make the cut are just like, it just doesn't, it's not going to make this better. It might be fun, like for some people to check out, but like if we're going to add something. And they did add something. So wait, hold on. Let me guess. Counters? There's like a new counter thing you can do?
Sort of.
That's what Bison's doing here with the little purple blast?
Brandon, you're actually doing the perfect setup.
Okay. So I'm literally finished. That's all I got.
We had some conversations when we were doing the most anticipated list. You know, why should Street Fighter be on there? It's just another fighting game. And
Number 3? What was it, 4? 5?
You're absolutely right, because every single core Street Fighter, they pretty much redo it in a way. Like, yes, you still have the fireball motion. Ryu still throws Hadoukens, okay? You know, M. Bison can still stomp on your head. But in Street Fighter 3, you had the parry. That gave that game its own identity. In Street Fighter 4, you had the focus attack. That gave its game its own identity. What I love in Street Fighter 5, and what was driven home today in such a beautiful, majestic way, is that they're going beyond that. The new things in Street Fighter 5 are V skills and V triggers. And basically what that is instead of having one thing that kind of wraps around the entire game, each character has their own thing that further establishes them through these 2 new mechanics. So the V skill you can activate at any time, and Ryu's is, this is the simplest one to describe, is a parry. So just like not just like Street Fighter 3, because in Street Fighter 3 you would push forward whenever they would attack and you would block. Here you have to push medium punch and medium kick, and if you do it at the right time, you'll parry anything. But other characters' V triggers are a little bit more complicated. And Bison's is a counter, so it's like Ryu's parry, but it's slower. However, if you're able to do it, if you're able to perform it well, and it's more complicated, you will hit them in the face with a fireball as a counterattack. Birdie, the character that they announced in E3, is amazing. Depending on which direction you input, in addition to medium punch and medium kick, he will consume a certain item, right? So he'll eat a donut. He'll just slam this donut in his face, chow down, and he'll build some of his... you have a normal like super meter as well. If you push down while you do it, he'll throw a soda can that will do a little bit of projectile damage. Another one is he'll put a banana peel on the ground, and it'll stay there, and you can slip on it. And so you can sort of play these mind games with your opponent. And each character has this thing, and it makes them, like, what I love about Street Fighter is they're already so distinct. There's nothing like Zangief in any other game. Zangief stands alone. You know, it's the same thing, I think, with Guile. It's the same thing with Dhalsim. These V-triggers give the characters even more personality, which I didn't think was possible. And on top of that, you have the V-trigger, which fills up as you get hit, and they modify your character in an extreme way. So with Ryu, when you initiate the V-trigger, when you enter this state, and it looks fantastic as well. As soon as you trigger it, the camera pans kind of, and it zooms in, and these ink swirls go all around you, and it's just glorious.
Man, I'm on the battlefield with you right now.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Reach, Ben. Reach.
And what the V trigger for Ryu is all of his attacks gain electrical damage. Also, you can charge fireballs. The longer you charge it, the faster you'll come out, right? So now you're not just doing a fireball motion, you're getting inside your opponent's head, and you're like, if I hold it for just an extra second, maybe they'll jump early and I can hit them with it. It's like, already, just with this one character, just with these two things, you've completely changed Ryu.
Are there different V moves for each character? Can you start swapping those out?
No, you can't swap them out. So it's like, so for Cammy, for example, her V trigger is, her animations are a lot quicker. So the startup on Cannon Spike is almost non-existent. When you do Cannon Spike with a V triggered Cammy, it's just boom, instantaneous.
Yeah.
And I feel like with V triggers, they looked outside of Street Fighter. Going back to Marvel vs. Capcom 3, they added X Factor, which you could activate, and their idea for it was a sort of a comeback mechanic. So even if you were getting slaughtered, if you activated X Factor, you could come back because you would do so much more damage, you'd be so much more powerful. The problem with X Factor is that it was too powerful. It was such a huge boost that it could kind of make fights ridiculous. And I feel like V-Trigger sort of takes that idea, kind of letting you get back into the match, giving you a little bit boost, but it's more thought out because it's independent for each character. And what they said, and this might upset some people, the roster's not going to be as big as you're probably used to with Street Fighter 4 at this point. But if all of the characters are that much more complex, it's probably worth it.
And you get more DLC packs down the road and more add-ons.
I just had one quick question. Did you get to destroy a car? Or did they talk about any mini games?
That's an excellent question. No, I did not. Okay. But I do very briefly want to talk about the stages, and it's things like this. Like the reason Street Fighter is the greatest fighting game is not just because it's the most mechanically sound. It's the effort they put into every little detail. And the stage they showed off was London. So you're in, like, I think it's a London train station. And over in this corner, there are these punk rockers just kind of going at it, rocking out, banging their heads. And then kind of close to them, there's this old man in a bowler hat and a cane. And he's just kind of jigging along. And then you have these royal guards, right, with their iconic kind of big furry black hats, and they're like a band, right? This one guy's on drums and the other guy's dancing right next to him, and you have all of these very traditional London things in this stage, and it's so creative. And Street Fighter has always been about world warriors, and you really get that sense in this stage. You know, it has a presence, it has a culture. I was watching somebody else play, and I wasn't even paying attention to what they were doing. Like, it was so cool. There was so much going on in the background that it was just a joy to watch.
It is a joy to watch. It's very distracting. It's a joy to watch all this animation. And they haven't really shown off all the characters yet, I'm assuming, right? Would all the characters there? Was the entire
No. I don't think we're even close to that.
We haven't even seen Delson Rowe yet.
No.
Delson Rowe.
And
tons to see, tons to learn. You know, it sounds like fun, just grabbing your favorite character and just jumping right into multiplayer and experiencing all the things on the opposite end. You know, so like, I don't know what all these crazy characters do, and then when that thing pops up in a fight, like, what a fun surprise! Like, the first time you get to go and like encounter all these people. How many extra versions of Street Fighter V are we going to get? Just predicting. Early bet from Ben Moore. 4?
I think I think 4 is a good bet.
Okay,
I would
4.
say between 3 and 4.
Cool. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.